If I had a guy standing up there doing a wellness program, all of you would have fallen asleep in the first 3 seconds. So we figured, hey, let's put a picture of fire up there. Everybody goes, oh, wow, look at fire. So that's to start your attention. And we'll finish it with one too. So if you are dozing off, hopefully it'll wake you up right at the end. So the first thing I want to say is, where's our veterans? Can you raise your hands? I want to say thank you for your service. Today's Veterans Day. That is my oldest child many years ago, standing next to my father's grave. He was a Marine who was in Vietnam, so I thank him for his service as much as I thank you. So what is it worth? So the title of it was Wellness Exams, What Are They Worth? So we looked and said, what's the definition of worth? And it's the equivalent to that of someone or something under consideration, or someone or something that deserves to be valued. So I asked the question, are your people valued? Are they something that you take under consideration? I think all of us would agree, yes. So they're worth it, is what we would all say. So this is how much it costs to equip a firefighter. I asked the question this morning, I was kind of surprised with the response I got. How many of you give 2 sets of gear to your firefighters? Show of hands. So it's about the same how it was this morning, about half the room. So you can take that number and shoot it up to closer to 20,000. So that's a lot of money that we provide to a member for gear that they put in a gear bag that probably sits in the back of their car or the toolbox of their pickup truck, and they get it out a few times a year because we all would agree that the fires are less than they used to be. So now you're spending a significant amount of money onto that firefighter that you're going to equip, but how much money are you putting into them? And of course, we want them all to look good, right? When they go to the grocery store, when they go to PRs, we're going to spend upwards of near $400 to make them look good because we want them dressed nice. It's a good PR tool for us. It's a good recruiting tool for us, so we're going to dump money in to make them look good. And then how many of us provide dress uniforms? Like we talked about this morning, they're out for graduations, promotions, and we use them the most now for funerals, right? Because we do nothing but bury firemen that are dying of cancer. So we want to make them look good at the funerals, but could we have dumped money into them and not have to have the dress uniform to go to the funeral? So what we did at spring is we put together a 2-part test, or two-part test. One's an on-site exam, and the other one's a fitness test. Now I'm not saying that this is the end-all, be-all of programs. I'm not saying that this is going to work best for you. This is what worked for us as a large combination department. So the on-site exam, they have a physical exam. They do your vital signs, they do a vision and hearing test, and then they do a skin cancer screening while you're standing there. Ultrasound, they look at your bladder, gallbladder, kidneys, spleen, pancreas, liver. For women, they do ovaries and uterus. For men, they do testicular and prostate. And then they do an echo of your heart to look at your aorta, see if there's any holes in your heart or if you have any leaky valves. Cardiopulmonary test, we put everybody on a treadmill with the Bruce protocol, which is a stress test on the treadmill, and they hook you up to an EKG, and then they do a pulmonary function test. Like we talked about this morning, by the time you get done blowing that pulmonary function test, you think you've run out of air because you can never seem to get the thing right for the first 15 times, for those of you that have ever done it. And then laboratory analysis. What we learned was we hired a phlebotomist that came in for the non-firefighter folks to be drawn blood. We said, we're going to hire someone that's what they do, because we know how the kitchen table is. We're going to start drawing blood on each other at the kitchen table. We're going to let it go. It's going to spill over the kitchen table, and then they're going to get mad because you decided to try to draw their blood and you missed, and now they're going to start messing with you for the rest of the night. So we said, let's hire someone that knows what they're doing. They came in 3 weeks before we started, and they started drawing blood on all the firefighters so it was ready for the review at the end of the wellness exam. So where's my fitness people? You that say you're fitness, raise your hands, that enjoy fitness. So what you would agree is the rest of us are that kind of fitness. That's where I'm at, okay? I'm with you, okay? My wife would disagree. She's the fitness person. I want to eat some tacos. So I still went through the program anyway, so my fitness was probably not as good as some others, but we tried. So our wellness fitness initiative, you do push-ups. How many push-ups can you do in a minute? We let them do a plank. How long can you do a plank before you collapse? And I will tell you that you can probably get as close to the ground, and you couldn't put a sheet of paper between me and the ground after just a few seconds. A cardiac treadmill stress test with an EKG, and then we talked about the pulmonary function test. We did a metabolic analysis with body fat. They do a caliper test on you, and I would say that I felt real good about myself because the first year we did it, I had a body fat, and the next year I lost 2% body fat. I thought, wow, I'm doing real good. And my wife said, no, it's the difference in the people that are grading you. I said, no. I'm less than I started. I've done nothing except fit tacos into my mouth, and I've lost 2% body fat. I think you're doing it wrong. I'm probably the wrong one, but that's okay. All right, so we do a strength, endurance, and flexibility test, diet and nutritional review, and then we do a personal exercise prescription. So those that are unable to meet the standard that we have set as the bottom bar, we assign a peer fitness trainer to, and they build a personal exercise prescription. Our fitness program is non-punitive. It's based on NFPA 1982, as well as the IAFF Wellness Initiative. So we started a program where it was fair, good, excellent, and superior. Those that were superior, we gave a $100 gift card to. Those that were excellent, we gave a $50 gift card to. If you fell below fair, we assigned you a peer fitness trainer. And the peer fitness trainer's job is to do nothing but work with you for the next 90 days to try to get your exercise prescription to get you to that fair level. We only had about 6 or 8 people fall below fair, and we had about 6 or 8 get superior. So we figured our program was pretty good because everybody else fell right in the middle. So, and then since it's non-punitive, at the end of the 90 days, we test you again. If you fall below the level, we just assign you a different peer fitness trainer. So the question that always comes up is, what's your most important resource? There's some fire trucks. Everybody could agree we spend somewhere between $500,000 and $750,000 fire truck. We have no problem spending money on them. We drop a couple million on a building. But what if I asked you the question, what's our most important resource, what would you say? People, right? So how much do we put into them? And I'm not talking about equipping them with gear or uniforms. How much do we put into them? And I think most of us would say, well, I don't know. So this is what we did in 2016 compared to this year. We just finished our department again for the wellness. And the things that stuck out to me the most were the first year we did it, we had 90 people that had hypertension. This year we did it, we had 24. Now, how many of those 90 people would have still been hypertensive if we would have never done the program? So those aren't new cases. Those are still 24 people who have not got their hypertension involved or reduced it to where it needs to be. Elevated cholesterol, we went from 54 to 10. The one that stuck out to me the most was the pre-diabetic. We had 12 people that were pre-diabetic, and this year we only have 3. So that means they've gone to a doctor, they've got on a regimen, and they've tried to reduce their exposure to becoming a pre-diabetic. So,
how many people was that out of?
we have 173, I think we did. So, I mean, you know, when you look at it, that's half of our department was hypertensive when this program started. All right, so I asked the question, how much is it worth to them? So here's a family, right? You have bought the nicest new fire trucks for them. You put the building that they're gonna reside in. You spent all the money on that. You gave all the nice refrigerators. You did everything you need to do for the building. You gave them all the gear they wanted, but how much did we pour into them to help keep them healthier and last longer for them? I mean, we miss birthdays, we miss holidays, we miss everything, but we're gonna make sure that they look good, but the question is, what are we doing to make them better? So this is Captain Darrell Falls. He was a member for 20 plus years at Spring Fire Department. We saw LifeScan here in 2015. We said, you know what, that looks like a really good program. So we ran back to the tax board. We said, hey, we want to do this program, and they declined it. We were unprepared, and we did a poor presentation. I'll be the first to admit it. We did the plan on emotion and not statistics. So he died in 2016. He started getting sick within, I think they gave him 4 to 6 months with cancer. He made it 4, he died. So I asked the question, if we would have put it in 2015, would they have found it? I don't know. But I never want to have to ask that question again. So in early 2016, we put together a better presentation. We made sure we had our numbers. We made sure it was a good, comprehensive presentation. And they approved it. And they said they'll never take that line item away from us ever again. The good news is we'll have to cut other things that we consider probably as fluff, but we'll never have to cut a wellness exam out of our budget ever again. And maybe we'll never have to wonder if us not having that exam missed cancer in somebody else. So this is Matt. Matt luckily enough, is here today. But this is Matt's struggle of going through cancer that was found, and we're going to let him come up and tell you his story.
Good afternoon. My name is Matt Corso. I'm a senior captain in Spring. I'm also a senior captain in Houston with Chief Logan. I was brought here today to tell a story. I had a rough time this morning telling it. Long and short of it is, they think I'm worth it. They did this physical. I had mine done. I got to the ultrasound, and that's as far as I got. Actually, on November 9th last year, several members from Spring that are in here were on their way to this conference. Well, I went in to do my physical. I was in there about 20 minutes. I could tell the ultrasound tech was getting nervous or flustered. And she told me before we started, she said, we're going to find something. I always do. It's not that big a deal. It's going to be okay. So after a few minutes of her digging around right here, I said, is everything okay? And she said, do you see that? It was about that big right there. And I said, what is that? She said, well, I can't really diagnose. And I said, well, why don't you just tell me what you think it is? And she said, well, my fear is, I can't see her aorta. My fear is it's a AAA. For those of you that don't know what that is, it's basically a ticking time bomb. How long you have, no one knows. But it can be fixed with surgery if it's caught early enough. So he gets off the airplane, gets several missed calls from our HR personnel. Because it was an emergent situation, they had to involve other people. Moved forward through the day, moved forward through a biopsy, get to December 5th. I got diagnosed with stage 2 testicular cancer. I went through chemo. I left work December 1st. No idea if I was going to return. This was my last day of chemo. I went back to work April 1st. I got the clear. I'm cancer free as of July 7th, I think. So when we were talking about this presentation, we said, what's it worth? That picture of my 2 kids, it's worth a lot to them. It's worth a lot to my wife sitting here with me. And I really appreciate the Spring Fire Department making it worth it to them. We heard a guy earlier this week said the fire service saved his life. Mine too. Between fire service, the Spring Fire Department, and LifeScan, I'm standing here 367 days later, healthier than I was a year ago. Just go back a little bit. One of the questions was brought up this morning, is this a mandatory test? He made it mandatory for everyone involved. That morning, I was just as nervous as I am right now, sitting there. And one of our chiefs walked by, messing with the ultrasound tech and the nurse, saying, oh, what a crowd you got here today. And I looked at him and I said, thanks for making me do this. And he said, why would you not do it if it was voluntary? I said, absolutely not. He said, why would you not do this? And I said, what if they find something? I don't want to know. And he said, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And 20 minutes later, my fear came true. But here I am to tell y'all it's worth it. We determined that a dress uniform costs $500 to $600. My dress uniform that I don't own, because we didn't get one for this presentation to throw this part in there, costs more than that test. The dress uniform, they would have buried me. Instead, we did this exam. I was young, it was caught early, I had a great family support, I had great fire department support. And here I am to tell you all about it. So, I'd be more than happy to tell everyone the whole story. There's a lot more to it, but we only have so much time, and I just hope y'all find the value in it. We can open it up to questions unless you have anything else you'd like to say.
Matt Corso. have a survivor, right? We have here's a case we could have caught. Maybe it was too late. Now we have a survivor. So the title of it is how much is it worth? We agreed equipment for a firefighter is about $13,000. That's only one set of gear. Dress uniforms about $600, duty uniforms around $400. I asked the secretary of ours, is how much did it cost to send us to this? About $1,700. That's airfare, hotel, and everything. So for the price of a wellness exam, you coming here could have sent 3 firefighters to a wellness exam. So think about that when I want to go to VCOS or I want to go to this conference. What are you doing for your people in addition to coming to conferences like this? And I'm not saying don't come, because there are great conferences, you get great information, you learn about stories like this. You need to think about when you're looking at your line item saying, am I buying another roll of hose or another couple of SCBA bottles this year? How much of that money could I be putting into my people? So, open up to any questions? We did a really good job.
We did. We had a lot this morning.
Okay, well there's our contact information. If you have any questions, you want to get the story more from him, or if you have any questions for me about how we implemented our wellness program, how we got it approved through our tax board, or how we did our fitness program, we have a complete wellness fitness initiative policy and program. I'll be more than happy to share any of our documents with you. Yes, sir.
Question for you on the test that you're paying for it and the template and all that. Do they request you finance along with the employee, or is it distributed to the employer? How do you know?
The only thing we're told is if they cannot return to, if the physician that reviews their report says this person should not return to duty, that's all we're told. That person needs to be released before their return to duty. That's the only information they give. His was kind of the anomaly because they thought he was having a life or death medical emergency right then. And they told him what was going on, like this is what's happening when you go to the hospital, so he made us privy to the information. Normally, our HR department gets the phone call from LifeScan and they say, so-and-so has a issue that we feel they should not return to work. We contact them and say, you are now off until you can have a medical clearance from your personal doctor to say you're ready to come back to work.
They pull you in at the very end, they pull you in a little room with the head nurse. She has your whole package. She goes over with you, then you get that package. So like he's right, they don't say nothing. Because my chief came out and said, how did it go? I said, good. You know, then it's up to you if you want to talk to them. But they get everything sealed in the package.
And the good thing is they'll, since like now we're on year 2, they were able to look at last year. You can kind of have an idea of what you compared to last year, like when you lost 2% body fat. I'm going to keep jabbing at her every time I can. But because and that's what I like about it, is you can see how you're trending, regardless if it's the right way or the wrong way. At least you have an idea of how you were last year. You get a sealed packet with all your blood work. The great thing about them is they send you all the material. We had all the blood tubes, we had everything. So when we hired the lady to draw blood, she showed up, drew blood, put it in the little spin down machine so it didn't coagulate, and they have LabCorp come every afternoon and pick up the blood. And they get the report of the lab results. We don't even get that. Yeah, and we tried to make it more convenient for our people. You know, and that was one of the questions this morning with how are the volunteers with it? And I said it was typical volunteers. You know, initially it was I'm not doing it, you're doing this to try to get rid of me, I don't want to do it. And then we made it mandatory. It was hard to schedule them all in the beginning because we were, you know, you can always imagine they all try to wait till the last day. I guess they're hoping they're going to go home early and they won't be there. So they always try to get the last day of the schedule. But we get them all through, and once we had everybody through, now there was no issue this year because they saw the value in it. And once they saw the value, it was no problem at all. Yes, sir?
Who went through the exams?
Everybody. So we went from the front office staff who answers the telephone all the way to the fire chief. Our rule was, with the fitness part of it, if you wore an air pack, you did the fitness test. So the fire chief wears an air pack. He did the fitness test. He did push-ups, he did the plank, he did the strength and, you know, stretch, all of it. Now the office staff, they did the wellness part of it. They didn't have to do the fitness test.
Did you open it up to your commissioner?
We did not. We actually have discussed doing that. And they also have a family and friends program.
Yeah.
Our problem is we're so big, we take the entire month to do
I
everybody.
know how you feel because that's what Maggie was dealing with the whole scheduling, but we opened it up to our commissioners.
Yeah, we've talked about that. We've talked about opening up to the chaplain group. We've talked about opening up to family and friends. It's becoming a popular program in our area. There's other departments that are now interested in it. So departments that are as big as ours take months at a time. Yes, sir?
My wife's sitting here hoping she can get one done pretty soon.
So if you don't see the results, which is understandable, how do you put them into those classification fields? And do they do anything to protect privacy for the people that are with the personal trainer and things like that?
Oh, you're saying the ones that fall below?
Yeah, I mean, you handed out gift cards to people that were high above. So how did you get that information? Did you give set your bars with the company?
Right.
And
So
then
no,
they did that.
we set our own bar.
Uh-huh.
We built a program that one of our chiefs is a big fitness guy. He built this program, and it's a score sheet. So how many push-ups you do for your age bracket, this is a score you get. So the people that we get the report of what their final number was. So we give our policy to the LifeScan employee that was doing the fitness test, and they jot down, and then they figure out what your final score is. We get a spreadsheet with their name and their score. So we know who fell below, we know who exceeded. I just reached out to them individually and said, hey, good job, you were superior, come get your gift card. The ones that fall below, they're gonna be assigned a peer fitness trainer, and that's the peer fitness trainer and them together is the confidentiality. It's more gonna be, hey, where can we meet up so we can go work out together? I mean, they use our facilities, but it's gonna be, here's your prescription. We sent 2 people per shift to peer fitness trainer school, and we want them to be able to help build the prescription individually for each person. You got a question?
Good question, I missed something. Do you have a pre-employment physical?
We do, but it's nothing compared to this.
This sounds a lot like a 1582, NFPA 1582. Its content and everything else. We're a large combined system outside of DC. We go through the PATs and pre-screening physicals for both career and volunteer. Currently, the career go every year, and the county's funding volunteers every year as well. We're hearing some of the same things you described. It is well worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, in the beginning, it was the rumbles of you're trying to get rid of us. This is just another tool for you to hire more full-time people and get rid of the volunteers. Once they kind of got over the hurdle and saw, oh, there is value in this and they're not using this to get rid of us, then they were all in. And it's just, it takes the buy-in. Okay.